What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio cards and comics here for the triumphant return of Marvel Monday. Boy, do I need this one after that Sunday of football. The Browns are suddenly a disaster with both tackles gone, Baker with one arm, Kareem Hunt getting carted off, Chubb hurt. It's a mess. So we're going to cleanse the palate today and dive back into a little comic book market update. We are primarily going to focus on Spider-Man stuff, mostly centered around some symbiote action with the Carnage for Venom 2 movie that just recently released, and some upcoming spec in regarding Tom Holland and Spider-Man potentially getting into a black suit, Secret Wars nonsense, and then close out looking at a few different X-Men books. I always like looking at X-Men stuff. I still think it's the ultimate play. We'll talk about that in the back half of the video. So, before we dive in, today's video is sponsored by our friends over at MySlabs.com. They are not only a go-to source for buying and selling of sports cards, graded sports cards, they are also a nice source for graded comic books. That's right, you could do graded cards and graded comic books over there. The benefit is 1% seller fees, 1% buyer fees, and then all transactions are handled by PayPal Goods and Services. So instead of having to pay 14% to eBay, you save almost 10% in fees. Very smooth website to work transactions on. So we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor and then hop into digging into some GPA analysis for today's video.
Tired of paying 10%, 15%, or more to sell your cards, comics, and digital collectibles? How does 1% sound? Too good to be true? Well, not anymore. MySlabs.com is the web's premier user-driven marketplace for buying and selling slabbed cards, sealed wax, and now slabbed comics and digital collectibles. So the next time you're forced to pay 10% or more to sell something from your collection, head over to MySlabs.com and join the 1% revolution.
Once again, thanks to our friends over at MySlabs for sponsoring today's video. We're going to start off on CGC's website and bounce between CGC and GPA. I just wanted to have accurate census counts up. I always mean to have this stuff pulled up when I do comic videos, and then I always forget, and I'm left roughly guessing. First up, Secret Wars number 8. Very popular title. 1, classic cover. 2, Jim Shooter story. 3, first appearance of the symbiote costume. And 4, it's in Secret Wars. This book, I've talked about this a bunch. I own one. A lot of different angles you could play here. 1, heavy rumors Secret Wars is probably coming. 2, coming off of the latest Venom movie, there are no spoilers. There are rumors flying that eventually this is all going to meet in the middle, like where we thought. We get Venom, we get Carnage, we get Tom Holland Spider-Man, all in the same movie. And I have to believe at some point in time, we get Tom Holland wearing a symbiote costume. It could come as soon as this new Spider-Man movie with the Doctor Strange nonsense and all the multiverse nonsense. I wouldn't put anything past him. He's seen in that movie in the clips and wearing like a black costume, but it's not the symbiote black costume. It's more like a stealth suit. So we'll see, but I could definitely see some sort of teaser for that, maybe a post-credits or whatever. Who knows? But if it happens, this thing's going to go nuts. Census-wise, there's 4,000 of these on the census, so it is a little high in air quotes. Once again, I don't put as much into some of the census numbers as others do, just kind of depending on what we're talking about. And the comic market in general had its massive spring peaks, late winter, early spring peaks. Things have definitely leveled out since then. We've had the pullback, and things are really flat, and they continue to be really flat for the most part. Some stuff is still creeping down, but in general, it seems to have really flattened out. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, with the exception of probably 1, I feel is a good time to potentially move into if you missed the window earlier. This is a perfect example. You can see Secret Wars 8 here. Back in the early spring, March, this thing peaked all the way up at around $900, $850. It's had its little pullback, and you could see once again on the graph here. I would zoom in closer, but GPA is a good data tool, but it's not the best for presentations. You can see this thing's basically kind of settled in between low sevens, or I'm sorry, high sixes, and $800, kind of just depending on the day. Scrolling through, well, you just look at September's. Is once again high pop books, so there's a lot of sales data on this one. 690, 700s, 8s, 7s, 8s, 7s, 8s, 6s, 7s. Anything in the low 7s to this, if you could get a high 6, that would be ideal. But anything in the low 7s are right at 700 cash, maybe 650, 675, 700. Anything in that range feels fine. Even before the run-up, around 600. That's what I paid for mine in, I think, January or February when I bought mine. So anything in that area seems pretty solid. But once again, I just think this book has definitely some buzz to it. It is, for the price and how easy it is to get, plus it makes a great display piece. It's an absolutely fantastic cover. It has the ability to really go up if Tom Holland ends up in the black suit. Continuing along that trend, we have ASM 252. This is, and I'm sorry, I misspoke on Secret Wars number 8. It's the origin story of the symbiote. ASM 252, the next one we're going to talk about, is the true first appearance of the black suit. It gets weird, timeline stuff, whole 9 yards. ASM 252, absolutely fantastic cover. Classic cover. CGC 9.8 census, just over 1,400. This is my favorite Spider-Man book that I own. This is a homage to Amazing Fantasy 15. The cover is on it. These are currently sitting at around $1,800 to $2,000, kind of just depending on what you're looking at. This has gotten a little buzz lately. These got down into the $1,500, $1,600 range. They kind of bottomed out there. They were sitting at $2K forever, slipped in the midsummer down to 15, 16, and are now back up to the 1,800-ish range. I think a lot of this is on the Venom spec, with the hopes that we see Holland in the black suit. Once again, I absolutely adore this cover. For the price point, the census, I really like this book. Only 1,400 of them. That's not a lot. That is not a lot at all. I know some people think that's kind of high. In the midline, anything over a few thousand. Some people get a little sketchy on that. To me, 1,400, not a lot of these things. Not when you consider how many Spider-Man fans there are out there. And this has Venom ties in as well. Not direct correlation, but first appearance of the symbiote suit. Makes a fantastic display piece. If anyone ever watches my live stream, there's actually one over my left shoulder next to my giant size X-Men number 1. It's once again, the thing about stuff like this and comic books in general, and the reason that I wanted to move some of my money out of sports cards and into these is because of the stability if you're not buying at the peaks. As long as you're not buying up here at the middle finger, if you will, and you're buying on these flat lines, they make really great long-term holds, in my opinion. The floors are just so high on them, especially stuff like this. Maybe not so much Secret Wars number 8 because the census count is a little bit higher on it, but an ASM 252 with a census of 1,400, stuff like that has just such a high floor to it. I just don't see it dropping down that much. Moving right along, and this is going to be an expensive one. ASM 300. I just kind of wanted to include this one as kind of a check-in on the general health of the overall marketplace. This is going to be an expensive one. First appearance Venom, classic cover McFarlane, CGC 98, just under 1,200 of them in that grade. Current pricing, as we move post-Venom release, we actually see a couple low balls here. Now, one of these, I think this $5,500 one was an off-white to white, not white pages. Because you see this one here at 65, this one here at 69, and then this one here at 5, and then 77. This 5.1 was a heritage sale, I believe. that one gets a little tricky because of the buyer's premium that they have to pay, so it actually inflates this number a little bit. These two are more true comps because they're white pages. This one is off white. I did check that one because I was curious why it was so low. But in general, this is still sitting between, let's call it mid 6s and 7K for a CGC 9.8 white pages. I just don't see it. Back in here, a few of them slip below 6K. Maybe it gets back down to that point. I just don't know. With only 1,100 of them, 1,200 of them ish out there, they come up often enough, but they don't come up super often. So I just don't see the market getting flooded with these and people just dumping them. So it's just the people that really want one hanging out, waiting for one to come up on auction or something. And I just don't see this slipping that much. Venom is still one of the most popular Marvel characters that there is. And 1,200 is just really not a lot of these things. So this book is still continuing to go strong and still kind of shows me that the comic book market in general is still extremely healthy. Moving right along here, ASM 361, first appearance of Carnage. Very high census count book here, 4,600. This one has taken a little bit of a hit post the movie. You can see prices here. This was close to more like 800 to 1,000. It would kind of bounce around. We see it dipping for the first time in a while anyways, into the lower 700s, 710, 725, 770, 735, 700, 700. It's really between 700 and 800 now. Before it was between like 775 and like 900, just kind of depending. I think a couple things happened here. And this is like where people do cite high census count books. This is one of the problems with them. And it is shown here that when something goes a little bit sideways, everyone looks to dump all at the same time. And all of a sudden you don't have enough buyers to meet the supply on the market. Supply outweighs demand and the prices dip. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. A lot of people fled to the market to get rid of it as soon as the movie dropped. And this is the result. So is what it is. I still wouldn't mind owning one of these. I love the cover. I don't know, spec wise, movie wise, I don't want to get into whether or not we're going to see Carnage again in anything, but I would still like to own one of these. But I think you could be patient on this one and let prices see where this one settles out. I'll leave it at that. And then maybe dive back in and snag one. This would be more of I want one for my collection more so than an investment level piece, if you will. Popping into something a little more modern, Ultimate Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles Morales, CGC 9.8, census is just under 3K. This one has pulled back quite a bit. Back in the spring, these were regularly doing close to 3K, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under. It has pulled back a little bit. We see it getting, actually in September, it got all the way down to the low twos. There's one $2,300 sale here. But in general, about 25 to 2,700. Don't see a 2,750 here, 26. A 3, 28, 26, 25. I would love to be in this at around 2,500. Though the census is a little bit high-ish at sub 3K. And this book does get submitted to CGC a lot. Miles Morales has a very good chance to be the next Spider-Man to come to the big screen. He's already been in Into the Spider-Verse and an animated, but he's an extremely popular character. We've talked about him a ton. I have the second print version of this book that I probably going to be a little down on. I probably bought it a little bit at the peak of the market on Ultimate Fallout 4. I would still like a first print at some point in time. This is probably going to be one of those ones that I end up missing the boat on. There's just always something that I want more in front of it because I'm not like a huge Spider-Man guy. And I know that something's going to happen that puts Miles into the MCU or the Fox/MCU verse. And then it's going to be absolutely all over for this book. This could easily spike it back up again. It still could continue to flatline until something like that happens. But we know Into the Spider-Verse 2 is coming. And that alone is probably going to juice this a little bit. We don't have a trailer for that yet or anything. But to me, the thing that sends this next level is if he shows up in the actual flesh and blood, not just the animated screen. But once again, I like using, this is a very good barometer for how the current market is kind of handling things. In general, like stuff like this is what the naysayers back in the spring were saying. This stuff's unsustainable. It's all going to come crashing back down again, yada, yada, yada. And here we are 6 months later, 7 months later in some cases. And yes, things have pulled back. We expected that. But prices in general are still going strong. So, once again, this just shows me the general overall health of the comic book market. I think we're actually going to cut it there today. I'm going to save the X-Men stuff for a different video. That way I could do more of a deep dive on X-Men stuff. We'll just hold here at Spider-Man, do a little Spider-Man deep dive here on some of his key books. There's a bunch of other ones I could have hit on. Sinister Six stuff is going crazy right now. I am more interested in the things that are not quickly escalating in price. Right now, all the Spider-Man stuff getting run is Sinister Six first appearances of their various characters. I want to stay away from that stuff. I would rather circle back and move into this stuff that people aren't talking about and buy it on the flat line rather than the stuff that's already shooting up. So we'll cut it there and with Spider-Man, and then we'll come back with X-Men in the next Marvel video. That's all I have for you guys and girls today. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out MySlabs for some deals on some comic books, or if you're looking to sell or buy. And we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.